performance down in the bucket, reducing the stress on the shuttle as it goes transonic.
Hey, Makara.
Hi, Jason. Hi, Lorenzo.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thank you for doing this. We're
Thank
really
you for
appreciative that
having
you would do
me.
this.
I'm super excited and I'm really honored to be here today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we are honored to have you because I think this is going to be a really fun conversation. So
I hope so.
So why don't we start with you just telling us a bit about you and your background and just tell us about Makara.
Okay. Well, my name is Makara. Makara Adkins. I'm the owner of Good Vibe Space, which is a boutique in Victoria, BC. My background is in film, television, film, modeling as well before film. I was born in British Columbia, but I moved from there I did my high school in Calgary, and then I moved to Toronto, started modeling at the age of 18, traveling. Then from modeling, went into commercial work. From commercial work, went into film and television. I've had vintage boutiques. I've had art shows in Switzerland. I'm a jack of all trades, master of all.
So how does a kid that was born in BC and raised in Calgary end up being on The Flash or being on Suits or all of the things you've done? Like, give us a bit of the journey.
I don't know, how did that happen? I get like timing, like it was timing as well as some luck, but well, it started with me. I moved to Toronto and I was living with my older sister and her husband. And then I was working in retail at the time in Toronto. And I went into, I was going out, it was Christmas season. And I was going out with a friend of mine and we went to a bar. And when I walked into the bar, I was like, wow, there's a lot of good looking people in here. And I was looking around and I was like, wow, no, like everyone's really, really good looking. And so this gentleman, he turned to me and he said, are you one of our new faces? And I didn't know what that meant. So I was like, new faces? What do you mean new faces? And he's like, well, I'm the director of a modeling agency here in Toronto, and we're having our Christmas party here. So that explained why everybody was super good looking. And I stumbled in at the right time and he said, well, you're not one of our new faces, but maybe you should be. And here's my card. And then at the time I was dating my boyfriend who was studying photography. And I had been approached by some other people, but they weren't really, legitimate or like, big agencies. And he said, well, no, I showed him the card and he said, no, that's actually a really huge agent. You have to give him a call. And so I gave him a call, went in, met with him and signed on. And then I started to do some traveling, went to Europe, China, and started with modeling. And then from the modeling, I started studying acting and then doing commercial work. And that's how I got into the modeling and then film and television after that. And then from doing commercial and studying acting, I got my union status and with the actor union, and then started working on some small productions, and then I got hired to work on Suits, and that time to be Meghan Markle before she is the Duchess. I was her stand-in, and Gina Torres as well, and I worked on that show for 4 seasons, which was awesome. And it gave me a great opportunity to shadow actresses, work alongside meet directors, writers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I gotta stop you because we need more.
Okay.
No, we need more information. So,
okay.
What year was this? Like, how long ago did you stumble into this
bar? Do we have
bar?
to do that, Jason?
Well, no, we don't have to. But like, I guess.
No, I'm just bugging you. So I'm 47 now. I just turned 47.
That's crazy. You do not look 47.
Thank
you look 27.
Thanks. I started that. I started well 18. I guess that's like year 2002 or something. I'm trying to do the math. But when I was 18 when I started. Okay, this is freaking me out. That's a long time ago. Like, but yeah, over 25 years ago, right? So
You modeled for how long before
I modeled for
the acting started?
Okay, so I modeled and I retired from modeling at 35. So that's 12 years ago. But I was doing acting while I was towards the end of my modeling career. I had started working a lot in, like, that's why I was doing some music videos, but also commercial work and small day player roles. So I started, and then I started studying it. And then I wanted to put more, like, it takes a lot of focus when you want to be a performer. At that point, my dream was to be a performer, actor. It's evolved and changed now. Working in the industry for so long, just realizing the reality of being in that industry, the good and the bad.
What was it like meeting Vince Carter?
Oh, you know what? That was a long time ago, but he was a nice guy. I mean, I think he was really at the peak of his career, so it wasn't like that we got to really hang out with him or that much, except for on set. But yeah, that's so funny that's like something that you're proud of. I don't know.
Well, no, it's just what?
It's just funny because of all the things that I've done. I'm like,
but you know why it's so cool is you're right.
No,
like when
okay.
you did that commercial, Vince Carter was, I mean, he was with the Raptors. He was sort of at the peak of that.
Yeah, it was for Nike.
Right. Yeah, and he was at the peak of his career back then. And both Lorenzo and I are basketball fans and have played basketball and stuff. So
that's, I mean, Vince Carter, the interest.
Yeah. Like Vince Carter, as far as basketball icons go, is like, he's up there. He was like a guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not really into sports.
Okay, fair enough. That's
so
fine.
I mean, like, even at the time, I didn't even realize how big he was. I was more like, oh, Nike, like I was doing a print ad for Nike. So I was like more like excited about working. Or like, anyway, I shouldn't say that. Oh no, I was excited to work with Vince Carter too, just in case you need something for editing.
I have something fun to ask you, Makara.
Okay, all right.
This rattles around in my little head all the time, and I think Jason shares this issue with me. I'm very much activity and goal driven in terms of being an ambitious person and wanting to get things done, learn a lot, very curious, all of those things.
Yeah.
What I'm not very good at is actually like plotting out my path. I'm a little more fluid with how I see it.
Yeah.
Can you maybe, like the way you've described your journey through your career, can you maybe describe sort of maybe what side of the fence you sit on with that? Like you mentioned luck earlier, but I know that, often it takes a lot of hard work to find luck, and it takes a lot of luck to find hard work, and vice versa.
Okay. I'm super, super passionate person. And I really, really love being in environments that I not love, but I do like challenging environments, and I do like I like proving that I like when somebody says, "Oh, you can't do it," I'm like, "I'll prove it to you." So I like I have big dreams. I've always had huge dreams. I'm a strong believer that if there's an example of somebody doing something, then why can't I do it? But I'm a really hard worker. So in conjunction with like the luck and the, I'm not afraid to work for it. And I'm very, very creative. So I like to make something out of nothing. So a lot of my success has been is just transforming a space or, proving that I can make it happen when all the odds are against me. With film and TV, it takes a level of courage that, not to say that a lot of people don't have, but like it does take us a level of like being able to sit in that uncomfortable place and being okay with that. Like, going out to many auditions and like, hundreds or thousands of auditions and getting like one or two jobs, eventually you will succeed, but it's like also just being prepared for that opportunity. And that, that's another thing I like to do is just, work on what you're passionate about, work on your craft, work on and create, always making something, always creating something. And I'm a strong believer that the right opportunity will come at the right time. And whether you're prepared for it is another story. Like, and so that's why I like to have a lot of, a lot of options. And, I'm just always I wake up and I'm inspired. I always have to be making something, always have to be working on something. So I definitely luck, but you have to have that willingness to work.
So how did you, I'm sure when you were on set and doing some stuff, sometimes it was difficult and challenging. So how did you deal with the difficult times?
Well, I still do this now, and I did this when I worked in film. I start my day with, depending on, how I feel when I wake up, just getting myself ready and prepared for the day. So I'll listen to a lot of, inspirational videos, just playing them in the background, podcast, not so much podcasts, but TED Talks of people that are, successful, living out their dreams. I'm really interested in that. And just getting myself ready and prepared for the day and just get my, confidence. And so I do that, meditating as well, because I do have an overactive mind. So I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of things that I want to do. And so for myself to be able to execute them, then I have to clear my mind. I used to work out more. I could work out a little bit more, to be honest. It's just that I am a person that I believe in myself. So I don't have to do so much work on that. And as I get older, I'm caring less about what people are thinking about me. And that's really helping me on this journey. But for film, it's challenging because, we're looking at 70-hour work weeks. You're working in an environment of, a lot of egos, a lot of good people, a lot of creative. But we're working any given day 150 to 200 people, and there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of time sensitivity.
How important is having a good team around you? You just mentioned.
Oh my God, this is everything.
Is it everything?
It's everything. It's everything. It's everything.
It feels as though it's everything in our discipline as well. And you mentioned there's egos in business, obviously. Mm-hmm. In film, I imagine there's even bigger egos.
Yeah.
Maybe talk a little bit about your experience in working on projects with good teams and maybe.
I've worked on a lot of great productions and worked with a lot of incredible and talented people. But yeah, definitely. It's a crew, right? Everybody plays a role in executing, shooting, the production, and every role is needed. And there's productions where yes, the vibe is a little bit more on the lighter vibe. Usually they're smaller productions because there's less money involved. But the bigger the production, the more money that involved, the more stress generally that you'll feel on set. But there's there's so many good people, and it does teach you how to work together and to make it happen. So yeah, and it's important in my business today. It's the most important. It's one of the most important things. I'm really affected by my environment. That was partially one of the reasons that I did retire from film. Not to say that it was a bad experience, because it was an incredible experience. I wouldn't take it back for anything. But yeah, it's like you go in the morning, you start the week, 6 o'clock on a Monday, 6 a.m. And then by the time you're on Friday, you're doing night shoots that go into your Saturday, and then you're sleeping until the night of Saturday. And then you have only Sunday to just like catch up and do your laundry and basic things. And so it doesn't really allow for anything else than that. So for the work-life balance, I just didn't really, it didn't really exist at that time. So,
Makara, did you find that you talked about teams and that they're really important? Did you find that in film, a lot of those teams try and stick together? Like, do directors try and bring the same people with them in terms of crew and stuff, or not?
Yes,
or does it switch a lot?
Yes, they do. Yeah, so there's different departments. There's all different, like there's the lighting, the grips, but yes, they definitely hire within, and then they'll come back season after season. Sometimes they do switch it up. Sometimes they switch it up big. But usually what would happen is if they switched up one of the DOPs, like director of photography, then some of the people that he would bring in for the lighting department, because he's not there, they wouldn't come in. So there'd be a bigger like turnover. But yeah, there's definitely work relationships that are.
As an outsider, everything seems so glamorous.
Yeah.
The way you describe your career, I think about like Jason, think about business. Every time I tell someone I'm traveling for business, they're envious. And it's like,
they're like, ooh.
It's like the only reason you're envious is because you haven't had to do it as much as me. Because if you did it, you'd realize that you're living in a 100 square foot room.
Yes.
You're eating by yourself on your bed with the tray on your
exactly.
your stomach. And it's like not at all what it sounds like when I say I'm going to New York for work 3 nights.
Exactly. And that's really film. There's some exciting days. Yes, don't get me wrong. Like, when you're you can sometimes I meant Liam Neeson and like that, you get to meet like some really big, stars and like have conversations with them, and you wouldn't ever have that experience or opportunity. Yeah, there's like these peaks, but there's the reality of like, in between takes, they're in the dark studio, everyone has to be quiet, people are stressed out, there's long hours, there's there's good food, which is something I do miss. But definitely the reality is like long hours, so yeah.
You know what I find? I find it so funny, like, and it shows how much the marketing machine is there, whether it's business or whether it's film or whether it's whatever is, everyone assumes that hasn't been in some of that and been able to do those things, that, it's sort of this, chauffeur driven, everything's taken care of. They don't realize it's like long hours. Sometimes it's like hard conditions. And I also find it interesting when you start to look at actors who in their downtime, like they go to Wyoming or they go to Arizona and they get away from everything and they get away from everybody, and they don't want to be there, and they want to wear sweatpants and they want to wear t-shirts and they want to eat tacos and they want to just, have like a normal life. They don't need any of the glitz and the glamour, because so much of that is just, it is acting, it is contrived. It's not necessarily real life. And I think there's a parallel in business too, where, you've got to put on the suit and the tie and all that, but really most folks would rather just not, if they don't have to.
Well, I get that here even at the store, like, because this space is so fun, and and people see, they've seen my manifestation like come to life, and I for sure know that like if they saw that I was like cutting stickers until like 2 o'clock in the morning, or like making pom-poms in my like living room to like finish like a wall installation or whatever it is, like the reality and what everybody sees is there is definitely there's a difference. But anyways, no,
I was just gonna add, it's sort of like when people are like, must be nice to have all those write-offs for business, and all I'm thinking about is like, how annoying it is to manage all of these receipts.
Yes, right. Yes, and get everything ready for my bookkeeper, and like like it's a lot of work. Like I did not realize being a business owner was this much work. I mean, I love it and I've learned so much, but wow, like holy crap, like and the responsibilities, and when you start feeding people, like like with like paying them and their wages, and it's actually paying their bills and their and I have like 50 different artists and makers. And
let's talk about that. So
yeah,
you talked about, I mean, you've gone from modeling to acting to, and you've always done art. I think you've always done it. And now you're not only making art, you've created a space, a retail space. So that's a store. So you're a retail owner.
Yes.
And you're doing that too. So tell us about that journey. Like, how did that all happen? And
I think it is definitely not. I know this is meant to be, because every single day I'm using something like from something I learned from film, or something I've learned just from working in retail all those years. I used to work in a boutique for like part-time while I was modeling. So I worked there for like over 10 years. But the art, I've always painted, I've always made things. I even had a vintage store in Toronto for some time. And it's just like everything is coming together, and it all is like, okay, this is really what I'm supposed to be doing. I realized something though. One thing that I just realized this, and it really, I heard somebody speaking about this in a TED Talk, and it really resonated with me, was I realized what my gift is. And my gift is uplifting people and inspiring people, and finding out what it is that they dream to do, and trying to facilitate that, whether it's by transferring my energy, whether it's creating a space where they can put their items or their artwork in, whether it's a conversation, whether it's whatever it is. My gift is inspiring people, because I've always been interested in that. I've always been interested in finding out what it is that somebody really, really wants to do, and like, how can I help make that happen? And so I also believe that when you figure out what your gift is, that's when the fun starts, because it's not like, I believe we're all gifted. We're all gifted with something. Sometimes it's not the same thing as our dream. It's our gift. And sometimes our dreams can be something, not to say it like to be a dream crusher, but like maybe not what you're supposed to be doing. When you're doing your gift, it just starts to run. It just makes sense. It's like people are paying me and working with me, and coming into my store and purchasing things from my store, and having this experience, and like feeling uplifted, and it just comes natural to me. So it's not, that aspect of the work is not challenging. It's like, that's the part that I could just do. Like, that's so simple to me. That's just who I am. And I think when you figure out who you are, and you figure out what that gift is, that's when you can really start to, like, things just start unfolding for you. Like, things just start, like, the success just comes, like, it's coming,
Do you think, Makara, do you think that that's always been how and why you've been so successful? Like, even on film sets, like you mentioned how challenging it is, and you worked with some very, I mean, you were the double for a lot of really famous actors. And to get along with those people, do you think that was part of why you were so successful there? Was the fact that you're so positive?
Yes, because I was told that all the time. Like, they were like, oh, Makara, like, even by the previous actress I worked with, she was like, oh, please, I really, really, really want you to go back, like, come back. This is when I decided not to go back. Like, your energy is just so positive. And yeah, definitely got me like repetitive jobs back on set. Like, I always would try to come to work and happy. I was super grateful. I would always say how, like, I go through my grateful, like, that's another thing I do. Like, when I'm walking to work, I'll just talk up, like, in my mind of all the things I'm grateful. And when I used to go into the film studios, I would do that every time I'd walk in. I'd say, like, I'm so just grateful for this opportunity, this job. I always wanted to work in a movie studio. I always wanted to work in the studio, and here I am doing it. But yes, that definitely got me my job, like a lot of my jobs. I mean, also when you're standing in photo doubling, you do have to look like the actress, but there's, you know, at the same sense, if you can't get along with others, and you know, your time won't be that long on a production. So but yeah, definitely my energy, I think all my life I like to think. yeah you have to, like, people want to be around happy people. Like, don't you want to be around happy people? I do. And miserable people can be with each other. But, you know, generally I'm a upbeat, fun, you know, my business is called Good Vibe Space, you know. So, and part of the goal is to uplift people and make them feel happy, and it's working. I mean, people are telling me that. I just had somebody today before we started the podcast, just talking about how it's her happy place, and she comes into store and she just comes in and she feels uplifted, and yeah. So I'm trying to create a little bit of, not a little bit, but a different shopping experience. Something a bit more, like there's the biographies and photographs of the makers beside their products. There's happy music playing. It's colorful. There's unique pieces. I'm really interested in providing pieces that you wouldn't find somewhere else. I like working with new artists. There's a lot of new artists in here with great ideas and great products. Yeah.
Did you ever plan to have the outcome that you've had?
Yes.
Or do you think it just happened?
No, I actually had a drawing of this space before. I always liked, when I had that vintage store in Toronto, I liked the freedom that having a store was, being a creator. Because I could transform the space in any way I wanted. And when it comes to the art, I did 2 exhibitions in Switzerland. I've always, like, you know, when things have got like tough, I've always been resourceful and been able to make something to make money from.
I have a sense that you've been focused more on the creation of a space and a creation of the art, and you've been focused on how you're going to do it, not necessarily what the outcome's going to be. Even though you were very positive that it was going to be successful, you didn't say, like, by this date I'm going to make $1 million.
No.
We're focused on the actions, right?
Yes. And I'm more of that. That's more my personality, anyways. And I'm starting to do more planning because that's just the more efficient way of running a business. And I have a manager now, so you know, like I have to. It has to be organized coming from the top down. So I am doing more planning on that, but I just didn't have anything to reference before opening this. And I opened up in the middle of COVID, so I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if it was going to, actually, that's a lie. I knew I could make it sustainable, but I didn't know what that looked like. I do see a vision, though. I see things in visualize. I visualize the outcome. So I have a vision of where I want to take this business, but I'm also is fluid the right word? Like I can, like, you know, it can change. It's evolving like a painting. You know, like I have when I look at a blank canvas, I have an idea of what I want to paint, but it's like the process, it like changes it, can change the outcome of it. And I'm okay with that. And then it could change to something else. It can evolve to something else. Does that make sense? I'm not like, oh, I have to make this, that, this. I do have sales goals. Yes, I have, because I also am a believer that, you know, you have to have some goal. It's like a ship going out into sea without a destination. You know, it's like I have to have some sort of direction of what I want to do, but it's more of a visual. I see it. Does that make sense? And it does change, but I'm okay with the change, and I'm okay with, like, you know, like my business changed in itself. Like I started as a partnership, which, you know, and then now I'm the sole owner. So I didn't plan that, but I'm happy about that. And I mean, I'm okay with change. You know, you have to be when you come from like modeling and film. Like, you just don't know where your next paycheck is going to come from if you're not on a show. And then also you have to have faith. And I have a lot of faith in what I can do. And I have a lot of faith now in Good Vibe Space itself and all the people that I'm working with. And I just won't give up. That's also like, I'm just not going to give up. I'm determined.
Makara, you gave me, and Jason, you're probably going to agree with this. You gave me such a good analogy as painting as sort of a metaphor.
I didn't even know where that came from.
It's fantastic. I mean, Jason and I talk an analogy all the time, and I consider myself a creative person, sort of in a different way, not necessarily artistically.
Okay.
But when you describe sort of, I have a vision for a painting, I can visualize it, but maybe after you draw the tree, you'll realize that it doesn't need birds, even though
exactly.
You realize this is not a tree for birds.
Exactly.
And I love that, because often in business, what we find is folks put the blinders on and they're not necessarily willing to alter the painting as they're going along. Sort of, by hook or by crook, I'm going to finish it. It's going to look like this. And at the end, you've got a painting that no one wants to buy.
Exactly.
And it sounds to me you've given yourself.
That's what you just lit that one. That was
good. I moved it along even a bit more.
Yeah.
I love it, because I think it holds true in so many other disciplines, not just in the work that you're doing.
Yeah, it's it's true. It's not being stuck, like or attached to a certain outcome or a way of doing things. I think it takes all, like, right, when you do that, it takes all the fun out of it anyways. I mean, like, if COVID hasn't taught us all, like, this last couple of years that, anything can happen, then you have to be able to, change at any given day. Like, for some of these restaurants that were closed for, from one day to the next, or if you have staff that got COVID or what, you just have to be very flexible. And I think the more flexible you are, and willing to hear other people's ideas, or I like collaborations as well. Like, I love working with other people. I'm not the type of person who wants to do everything by myself. I like to challenge myself and learn new things. But I also, I believe that, if you can hire somebody who's passionate about marketing, let's say, like, it's not something I'm super passionate about, but I know it's necessary. I think it's better in my time spent is better doing what I enjoy and what I'm good at, and then working with people who are good at that. So, yeah.
You said something about flexibility that I think, and you may not even appreciate the depth of this, like, because you're so competent at your art and because you're so accomplished at it, and you can paint the tree, and then you might have had to use Lorenzo's analogy, you might have had the idea at the beginning that you were going to put the birds on, and then you were like, no, in the middle of doing it, you decide you're going to go in a different direction. Like, that is art, right? Like, that's your ability to be a creator. And I think in business, sometimes what happens is it's too much science and there's not enough art mixed in. Like, people expect that you can just replicate this thing, and they start to just think it's about replication and the science of producing things without being flexible to trends, being flexible to changing dynamics and things like that. And even from a planning perspective, one of the things we've seen over the last number of years is it used to be everyone would say you have to have a strategic plan, you have to have a business plan. And lately the wisdom is, well, you have to have, to your point, a destination and know generally how you're going to get there, and some principles and values that are going to guide you along the path. But to be able to think that you can plan 5 years out about everything and anticipate all of that, that's unrealistic.
It's not realistic. Yeah.
At all.
And I think it's unrealistic in life, with other aspects, like, there's only so much planning you can do before, something happens that totally destroys or changes, not even destroys, but just changes your path, like death can do that, losing somebody, that's a big shift. And that happened in my own personal life with losing my parents. Like, I was on what path going one way, and then that happened, and it completely changed. It changed everything. So there's so many outside influences and different reasons for your interest to change, your obstacles or openings. I don't know, like opportunities. Yeah, also that too. Like, you just don't know. I open the doors every day for the public. I don't know who's going to walk in any given time. You just don't know what's going to happen, change. And another thing is, like, I'll try to plan my whole day. And now I have like a nice, like a Calendry app, or I think it's called Calendry or calendar app or whatever. And so like people are booking appointments. I'm really got it, my calendar organized, but like, for instance, I'll come in here and then something will happen in the store, or we'll get a delivery of something I didn't think we got, or something needs to be, the camera's not working, a security camera, and I got to change that. And the whole trajectory of my day is completely different from what I planned. So you just got to let it go and do what you got to do.
What's the continued vision for you? What do you what do you want to do?
For me, okay, well, I just finished the outside of the store. So we got our sign up, we painted that, and I'm really happy with the outside, how it's looking inside, and it's always evolving, but I'm really pleased with where it is. My relationships that I have about 55 local artists and makers that I'm working with, and I have a few spots left open that I'd like to curate some more items. So that's an ongoing thing. But with the business, I want to expand. I would like to have good vibe spaces all around the world. Taking the business, our business model, and doing it in different cities. So like, let's say we did this in Toronto, or let's say Edmonton, because you're in Edmonton. Working with another business owner, opening up another good vibe space, and using the same structure local to the city, and then having an in-house brand that is all good vibe space, which is the products that I'm curating. Currently, right now, we also have our own products. And we've started to do some collaborations with different makers. So we have Good Vibe Space candle, we have Good Vibe Space soap, we're going to have Good Vibe Space perfume, and then having those products in all of the different locations for some consistency. But going on the same business model of creating this space that uplifts people. All of our staff is hired more based on their, I know this is going to sound crazy, we were hiring more based on sales experience, but we realized that's not the best way to do our hiring, because we're a unique space that is trying to uplift people when they come into the space. So everybody that works has shorter shifts because they're expected to have like a high level of energy and, like super, like, happy and positive and informative, and people who have this more inspiring, like, vibe and like high vibe, because we can teach people how to sell. I mean, not everybody, but you could teach more here. It's not about just selling. You have to know a lot about the products in here. There's a lot of information, a lot of know about art. So all the people that work here are passionate about art. They're passionate about local. They're passionate about, a lot of them have stuff that they make in the store as well.
You're basically representing curators that aren't necessarily the most sophisticated on their own either, are you? Like,
no, everybody's different. There's all different levels. I have some really established artists, and then I have some really new people that don't even have a website.
Right.
I like working with all of them. I like showcasing them beside, like putting, let's say a jacket beside a t-shirt of a jacket of a very established designer beside a really up and coming, and showcasing it and showing it in this environment. And I feel like I'm more mentor with the young. They're not necessarily younger, but younger in their like where they are in their career, or where they are in making or producing whatever they are producing.
You have such a unique space there. You have such a unique store. Like, I mean, it really is. I've never seen anything like it. The closest thing, I told you this a long time ago, the closest thing was Rose's Apothecary on Schitt's Creek. But that's fiction. Like, that was fictional, and you brought it to life. It's
really
real.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but here's my question. Is, do you think it's possible to replicate that if you were to expand and open up additional locations? Because sometimes what happens to things like this is the kiss of death is expansion, because then it becomes sort of watered down. It doesn't have the same vibe. It doesn't have the same
vibe. Exactly. Well,
so
that's
how would
what
you
we
deal
really
with
have
that?
to focus on, really getting that, like, how do you, like, that in itself is what it is. Like, how do you do that is really what I have to work on. Like, how do I make that possible? Like, how can I recreate something so unique and something so a reflection of me, right? Like, this is like, if you were in my subconscious and you were going around in my brain, or you were going around in my imagination, this would be it. This is what it would look like. So how do I make that possible for somebody else to do? It might not go in that direction. It's just I keep getting asked a lot by people, like, do you have a store in Toronto? You got a store in LA? You got a store? So there's always that dream to expand and be bigger. Why not? But it might not go that way as well. Like, it might be, this is a flagship store and it's more focused on the online. We'll see. Or it might, like, I'm going to be doing with my own art. I'm going to start making wallpaper fabrics. I mean, I might go more and focus on that and have like one shop, like, where it all started, I also have my memoir that I'm writing, who knows if that is like, I'm waiting for people to be interested in my story, but like, this is where I'm really like, that's a one path, but it doesn't necessarily have to go down that path. I'm happy with, I know it's just it's already expanding on its own. It's like growing. It's its own thing now. Even when I step away from it, I come, like, it's like growing and becoming its own thing. So what that will look like, so far that is looking success, and so far it just looks like this. So I'm just going to continue just going like this. Where that takes me, I don't know. Like, some part of me and I wouldn't mind manifesting or having, working on having other spaces, but maybe that's not the direction I want to go. I'm not sure.
I can appreciate the consternation, because you've got such a noble purpose that it makes it sort of difficult, right? Because you've got to be conflicted, sitting there going, I want to spread this.
Yes.
In doing so, I don't want to kill what I have, because
exactly. You know what it is? I figured out the log line of my business and of myself. And it's live a life that inspires others. Okay. So whatever I do, it's like, whether they come into the store and they see the art and then they want to go home and they want to paint, or they want to add some more color into their life, or they come into the store and they get, like, they see all this other artists and makers and they're like, oh, maybe I can make something, or they just feel more uplifted, or they see somebody, opening up a store and it's successful, and then they want to go open up their own business. Whatever I'm doing and it's inspiring others. Where that is going to take me, I don't know. Maybe I'll end up, like, I would love to do workshops and inspiring people. The thing is, I want to do a lot. So I just, like, there's only so many hours in the day, but I just try to maximize the time that I have, and the goal is that. Just keep inspiring people. Keep inspiring people by your actions, by the way you live your life, And I think it's just all gonna, I think people resonate with that. People are interested in that. People are like, want to be around that, like I want to be around that. And then I just believe that amazing things are going to come from that. They are already. And that's how I've lived my whole life. So yeah,
Makara,
it's got me here.
When you look back at your incredible
Thank
journey
you.
so far, what are you most proud of when you think back on everything? What are you most proud of?
I think the store so far, because this is the timing of this and how many people like I've made happy, and like I get to do it all day. Like it's like I get to showcase I get to make whatever I want to make. Like, look at this, Jason, hold on. Okay. Like, I know this is crazy, but I made this last night and it's so crazy. But it's okay. Hold on. I know it's nuts, but it makes you happy. Okay, hold on. How can you see it? See, it's like a little crown with like pom poms and stuff. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, for instance, I can just make that, and I can just bring it into the store, put it into the store. Sorry, and like people get to like be happy from it. Little kids get to like, I just get to make people happy all day. I get to create whatever I want to create and put it up. I get to work with whoever I want. I get to buy whatever I want for the store. I get to like, it is fun. Like, and on top of it is like, I am doing what I love to do. I have this platform for all these artists and makers, and I just had a meeting before the podcast with one of the makers, and she was just telling me just how how grateful she is to be in this space, and how like so she's been selling so much of her jewelry, and that she's just inspired. And I get these kind of emails and these calls and people, the customers coming in and feeling lifted up from like the dark times that are going on, like all this crap that's going on in the world, and they just come in here and it's almost like they're stepping into this like fun land, this is the world. Like, if I could have the world, create the world. Who says that? Create the world that you want to be in, or
yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, there's creating this like reality. Like, if the world could be like I wanted it to be, or I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but it would be colorful, it would be fun, it would be full of beautiful things, art, it would be community based, it would be this space, so I'm just creating that, and just like hopefully more people will do the same.
So I'm going to ask you the opposite question of what are you most proud of, which is, what's your biggest regret?
Ooh. I don't really think like that. Is that weird? I don't think like that. I don't have regrets. I know that sounds weird. Okay, well, are we talking about dating certain people? I could tell you, I regret dating some people, but when it comes to like my life, I don't have that. I don't have a biggest, because everything's led me up to where I am now, and I'm happy. So I don't really like even my failures. Like I'm like, you got to fail to succeed, like this, like, everybody fails. So I couldn't tell you. Like, I wouldn't say, that I did this earlier because I was busy earlier doing other things. So like, I don't regret that. I don't regret working in film. I don't regret modeling. I don't regret paint. I don't know. I don't really have one. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
So what advice, if you were to sit down with a group of young people that were just starting out in their life, maybe they're done high school and they're looking at the next however many years, and they're thinking, boy, what do I want to do? What would your advice be to them?
Well, I would be first. I would find out like what is it that really gets you going? Like, what is it that you really like? Do you do that? You find yourself like time just goes by and passes by, and you know, like, and people really enjoy it, or you know, trying to figure out what that is. Like, what is your gift? And then start by you don't have to go quit your job, your day job, or like, you know, or school or anything like that, and just like start throwing yourself in there, but dedicate at least an hour a day towards that. I mean, if you have 365 days in a year, you did an hour a day, that's 365 hours of working towards something that you want to do. And then when you start you know, and also trying different things, you know, like I'm a strong believer of trying different things. That, like, not saying like, oh, I'm going to, like, that's limiting yourself to like, oh, I'm a painter, or oh, I'm a business owner, or oh, I'm a this. It's like, you know, we're all creators. Create something. Find out what you're gifted at. Start applying some time towards that, moving in that direction, and don't be afraid to try many things and have different avenues of incomes, and then deciding and finding the one that you really like, makes you at the end of the day feel fulfilled. Like, what do you feel good about? Like, what do you feel like, you know, at the end of your life, like, how do you want to be remembered? I want to be remembered as a person that inspired people, that helped people, that, like, that inspired people, you know. So, and try to figure out what that is, then start making the steps towards it. So, and the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. We all have the same amount of hours in a day. So I hate that when people say I don't have time. Time is a choice. You get to choose what you want to do with your time. We all have it. So choose to put in the work, to, you know, and realize, are you that person? Are you, like, you know, is what you're doing represent who you are? You might not even be that type of an ambitious person. Maybe you're a wilderness person, and you see your dream is, you know, spending like 8 hours a day fishing. Well, there's jobs like that. People have jobs fishing 8 hours a day, you know. Anyways, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, figure out what it is that you love, because you're going to be doing it a lot.
I heard I don't know if either of you have watched this yet on Netflix. David Letterman has a series of interviews that he.
Oh yeah.
He interviewed Kevin Durant. I haven't watched them, but I watched the Kevin Durant one, and he made a comment, like, Dave asked him about like finding happiness or something to that effect. And Kevin Durant's response was like, I don't chase happiness, I chase experiences. And if those experiences lead to happiness, then cool. But if they don't, then I at least I had the experience.
Yeah.
That was a really interesting way of framing, I think, sort of similar to how you described trying a bunch of things, right?
Yeah. I can do, like, people like, or what do you, they're like, I hear this a lot. They're like, oh, you do everything. And I'm like, well, I like doing a lot of things. Like, and I, you know, when people are always like, oh, you have to focus on one thing. Some people do. I can't focus on one thing. That's never been me. Like, that's never been me. So why am I going to force myself to focus on one thing? Like, I can't. So why fight it? You know, but some people are very focused, very task oriented, like you know, figure out who you are as a person. You know, it's a lot of work to do that. Like, I spend a lot of time by myself, like, and figuring out who am I, and what makes me really happy, and how do I, you know, quiet that negative voice or that talk or whatever it is, or like, you know, or how do I stay vibing so high? Like, you know, there's, you know, just figuring out who you are, what really gets you going, like what makes you like feel like, you know, when you just get lost in something and you're just like, time is going by, you're just like, it doesn't even feel like work, you know. That a lot of the aspects of this store is like that. I'm like, wow, this is just like really my element, like, you know. And this is like, and it's also the space really reflects who I am, and it's super colorful and happy. And it's just like, it all makes sense, you know? It's like, so figure out, you know, if you're a grumpy guy, then maybe like your job is like not working with the public. Like, I don't know. But whatever that is, like, you know, and it doesn't have to be like one thing, you know? I think that's the, you know, that's a system. That's like, you know, if you want to get into that, the world I live in and the channel I'm tuning into is different than that. And again, it is like that, you know, it's like, it's just like what you focus on, you know, what channel you're tuning into. I'm tuning into Happy Land, full of color and a lot of beautiful art and community and great, you know, like fun, good times. And that's what I want to tune into. You know, find out what it is that gets you, you know, happy and makes you feel good. It's not always about being happy. I mean, there's balance, but like, you know, I'm happy a lot.
Makara, do you think art is as appreciated as it should be, particularly
I do. I depending on who you're talking to, but I have a lot of friends that are artists and performers and stuff, and they appreciate art a lot. But I'm noticing from the store that people that are not even artists or makers they're really enjoying art. They're purchasing art. We saw a lot of art prints. We saw a lot of original art. Yeah, people appreciate it. You know, this store is attracting a diverse amount of people, like a diverse, guests are very diverse. But, you know, it's also because it's all bright and colorful and full of art. There's a lot of artsy, art appreciative people, but there's a lot of people that come in that, like, they're just, you know, they're not like the art connoisseurs or anything, but they really are enjoying it and they're appreciating it. And so I think that's what this space attracts. Outside of my world, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But I think there's always going to be an appreciation for art. It's art. It's like that. Icing on the cake. Like, do you want to live you need some color in that house that you're in.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
I was actually thinking of commenting on that when I look at the screens, I'm like, look at Jason's screen, I look at my screen, and then I look at
just bugging you.
Something's different here. But the reason, I guess part of the reason for my question though is like, I
was just teasing. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I like color, although I do like monochromatic things.
Yeah, but, we like what we like.
I just came back from Italy. I was there for 10 days and I've been to Europe a number of times, and there just seems to be, at least there anyway, still an appreciation for that in a much higher regard than we have here out west. Like, I live in a neighborhood in Westmount in Edmonton, and homes are all like built in 1912. Yeah. And one of the first things people do in the neighborhood is buy a 1912 house and then tear it down and put something new up. Yeah. And like, it just drives me nuts. Not to say that, you know, new things aren't as nice as old things, but like, there just doesn't seem to be an appreciation sometimes for like craftsmanship and the time it takes to actually, you know, assemble and create and then make what you've created. And so I think that I'm encouraged to hear that it sounds like the general public, or at least those that you attract. Yeah,
well, British Columbia has a lot of artists as well. So I would say compared to, like, they really love local made things. Like, there's a big conscious shift here. But I think it's starting to go, you know, in other places in the world. I know there's like, you know, buying, especially during the pandemic, we saw what was going on with Amazon and all these small businesses like closing down and stuff. So there's been this like focus on supporting locals who want to sustain and have these neighborhoods to go and have brunch and coffee and shop. Exactly. Yeah, there's like, you know, I'm also, not to sound hippy dippy, but I attract artists. Like, you know, like the store is full of artists. Like, it's full of art. Like, when you see it, when you come, you'll get it. But it's attracting those kind of people. And I believe it's a reflection of, like, you attract reflections of yourself, really, you know. I mean, not always. And, but so the people I'm interacting with are very appreciative of art, and the customers that are very appreciative of what I'm doing in here. But it's more of like a vibe. They're feeling the vibe, and not to sound like vibe, but they're feeling uplifted when they step into this. There's a lot going on in here. There's feng shui going on in here. There's color therapy going on in here. There's set smells that are, I place candles in certain places to give off certain smells. Like there's a lot going on here, and it's almost like it's supposed to hit. It's like my goal is like it hits you in the face, like all this art, like if all your senses are all. It's almost like an overload of like senses. Like you're getting lost in this like artistic, I don't know what sea of color or whatever. But anyways, and so I'm attracting that, like more of that, because that's what I'm doing, but definitely when I lived in Europe, there was a lot, like, especially when I lived in Switzerland, a lot of appreciation for art. There's a history there. But I think like if you provide it, the right people will come, the right people that enjoy art, that they appreciate art, they shop here, I'm interested in that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I couldn't say what it's like where you live, but if you want more of it, you could always create. But yeah. So, but I think there is this shift right now, like there's a lot in this color. Like I didn't realize, like I started by just doing my window, and my window is like strings of colorful pom-poms throughout the whole window. And I wanted something that was really like attract people, like this big showy window. And it was originally just going to be up for like a short period of time. But the amount of people that were like walking by, go, oh my God, I saw it from across the street. I had to come in. Oh my God, it just makes me happy. And it started with that window. And then I started doing smaller wall hangings like this. And then people were like, oh my God. And they started calling me like the pom-pom lady. And they're like, oh, these circles, these pom-poms, they make me so happy. So then I started researching, why is like people reacting so much? Like I thought I was going to get them through like art, and like, but there was something about the circular, colorful, round balls that were making people happy. So I did some research, and apparently there is there's something a positive association with round, colorful balls, because when you're a kid, think about things that made you happy, like suckers were round and colorful balls, or a ball that you kicked, you played with, was circular and colorful. So it triggers this association with happy times.
Yeah.
And so I started going on with that. It was like, how do I make happy art? How do I make happy items? Or how do I curate a store full of happy things?
You know what's so neat? You know what's so neat about this? Here's what's so neat about it is, again, like you've talked so much about things that have nothing to do with the retail store. Yeah. It's almost like the store is your canvas upon which you accomplish these other things that you want to accomplish, that you want to put out there in the world.
Yes.
And it just happens to be through a physical place that people can come to to experience it. But what they're experiencing isn't just like buying goods and services. They're being immersed in something that you've created that has all of these dimensions and depth to it. I mean, it's fascinating.
Thank you. You just put it into words, actually. Thank you. And I that is what's happening. Yeah, it's kind of cool. And I didn't plan that. Cool. I didn't plan that. That I didn't plan.
I don't think people do plan it. Like there's something here. I'm going to give you a huge compliment. Like there's a genius. There's a genius here to this that makes me think of like. No, but listen, it makes me think of places like Cirque du Soleil, like, there were other circus groups before Cirque du Soleil, but how come Cirque du Soleil became Cirque du Soleil? Well, there's a whole thing when you go to a Cirque show and you experience the costumes and the music and the choreography and all of that. And that comes from the founders and that way they've created that. And it's unique to that. Other people have tried to replicate it. It's not the same. Yeah. And it sounds to me like you've done the same thing with creating a store, except yes, it's got maker goods and it's got local, like lots of other places can claim to have that too, but it's different. It's somehow different. And I'm lucky. I've got to experience it. I've been there. But you even think about where you are in Victoria. Like, it's not like, again, there's not other shops up and down that street or in the downtown that don't feature the same kinds of things, but they have none of your energy.
There's 3 of them. There's I can think of 3 stores that carry local, like their businesses, like a local
but they're not
makers.
But they're not the same.
But it's not the same. You can't replicate somebody. You can, if you put enough of yourself into something, you can be imitated, but it can never be recreated. So it's like, I just focus on putting so much of myself into this. This becomes a reflection of myself, and it's not going to reflect anybody else. It's just going to be solely me. Me with working with other people. I'm not like saying I'm doing this all completely by myself, but the vision and what I'm doing with the space is just, it's me, and so that's what you're seeing. And I think if more people did that, it would be more interesting. I don't know, it'd be a lot more interesting, like businesses, but I think you have to do things with your heart. Like, I think it's really, people want to shop, and where people want to, sometimes I find people don't even know what they're buying. They're coming in here and they're just get caught up in their, the experience, and they just want to have something to take from that experience, so that then they look at that, scarf they bought, or the glasses that they bought, or whatever they bought, the soap or whatever, they're brought back to that time where they were in Victoria at that cool, fun shop. And I have a little fun things in the store. I have positive affirmations, you can pull out a little positive reminder for your day. I've got this it's you enter this draw, and it's this really thought-provoking question that we ask, and we do it every month. We're doing events now. We have live music sometimes. Yeah, it's a fun. It's you're in the 5th dimension. That's what's going on here. Don't tell anybody that. No, but yeah, higher level of. I don't know. I'll lose some people if I go in that direction. But just vibing high, and attracting, and working hard. It's not just I'm not all about just that secret thing where you're you just focus on something and then it magically pops up. No, you got to work. But I'm willing to work. I'm willing to put in the work, to make it happen. So yeah, if you can put those things together, you can, start finding out what your purpose is and what your gift is, and work super hard. I think anybody can have that's success to me.
Well, listen, this has been amazing. And I think we're there, but this has
good?
been amazing.
Was it good?
It's been great. And I got to tell you, I'm really happy that you decided to do this with us. We're so happy for you and the success you're having. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. I actually love this. This was so fun. I forgot that we were doing what we were doing, and it's just we're having a conversation. And you know me, I love to talk. So
but that's the point of it. We're just trying to have cool conversations with people. So
I'm glad you got value out of
it.
See, this is your gift.
Okay.
This is your gift.
Exactly.
Jason, no, you're really good at this. It's look at Joe Rogan. You start somewhere.